Alfonso is going to go through a bit of the concept of sustainability and how fusion fits into this concept. So I'll present you and I'll leave the floor to you, Alfonso. Alfonso Barbas is currently working at ENUSA, Industrias Avanzadas in Spain as a nuclear engineer, and he has a PhD from the Polytechnical University of Madrid in inertial confinement fusion. So Alfonso, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much, Alex, for your kind presentation and your introduction to the topic. Do you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, so let's go. Thank you very much to all of you for being there. And I was saying let's go because I have lots of things to tell you and really short time. So I hope you all will allow me to leave the let's say technical way my colleagues have followed during the last 3 days to take we could say more political or even philosophical way, okay? Because here we are talking about sustainable development and it is a political concept, okay? So this presentation is going to be divided in 3 parts. First of it is we will talk about what does really mean this concept of sustainable development. Second, we will go on with how could we design a sustainable electric system. And last of all, if we have time enough, we will talk about the relationship between nuclear fission and sustainable development. So why is it important to talk about the meaning of sustainable development? It's because I'm pretty sure if I would ask any of you to say, let's say a color you may think which is related to sustainable development, you will probably say green. And why green? Well, in fact, if we ask Google, if we ask internet, that's what internet is answering us. You can see here lots of green, lots of trees, lots of mountains, lots of earth planets being held by hands. So Google is telling us, and you would probably thought, at least, listen, yesterday it was exactly 4 years since the first time we did this course. And since 2016, we have done this course like 9 or 10 times. And since then, I have never found a single person who didn't think that sustainable development is about nature, is about environment. And it is not, okay? It has something to do, but it is not about trees, it is not about nature, it is not about environment, it is about people, okay? And in order to try and explain this, I have to go through the concept history, okay? You all probably know that the concept was born in 1987 in the essay Our Common Future, which was written by the World Commission of Environment and Development, presided by this woman, Gro Harlem Brundtland. And there appears the definition you all know about, saying that, claiming that development is a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs, okay? Well, this definition is okay, but I like more this second definition. We have no time in order to go in deep through this definition, but I just ask you to look at the last line where we find human needs, and this is something both definitions have in common, and is those human needs. We could wonder what are these human needs are, and we should answer. We should ask this because this is the core of the concept. Okay, in order to answer this question, we have to go a little back in the history of sustainable development. I would like to go really back, but I have no time. So for those of you who can read Spanish, I would strongly encourage you to go to the chapter of the book. And for those who can't, I would recommend you to go through this Destamé Bratus paper, Sustainability and Sustainable Development, Historical and Conceptual Review. Here's everything, okay? Now, here just a little sum up. We both, back in history, I was saying, just until 1948, which of course is the year when human rights were declared, okay, for all the people in the world. And why am I doing this link? How can I do this link between 1948 and 1987? Well, I can do this link because more or less in the middle of those two really important years for the humanity, we had in 1972 in Stockholm a conference on the human environment, okay? And if you go through the document, which I strongly recommend because it's a really, really short document and it is so clear in this point, in my point, that I strongly recommend you to go through this document. Here in the 5th proclamation, we can read, of all things in the world, people are the most precious. And why am I quoting this sentence? Okay, it's because what I'm trying to say you is that we are here, we are not talking about trees, we are not talking about nature, but we are talking about people, okay? If we move on to the next proclamation in this conference, I don't need, again, I don't need you to read through the entire text, but we can see here already the human environment, we can see the worldwide economic and also the social system. Those three that you already know, that are the three main parts of the 3 parts of the sustainable development. And of course, we also have here the core of the idea, which is present and future generations. Okay, we are extending this idea of human rights to the present, not only to the present, but also to the future generations. Okay, so listen, we are in 1972. We don't yet have the whole concept of sustainable development, but all the ingredients were already here. Okay, all the ingredients 15 years ago were already here. And if we move to the prime principle of this conference about human nature, what we have is man has the fundamental right to freedom, equality, and adequate conditions, life, etc., etc. That this means human rights. Okay, this is all about human rights. So now I know this is a short demonstration, but now we can assume, we can say, we can state that those needs we were talking about in the definitions of sustainable development, those needs are the human rights. Okay, we can say that what sustainable development means is human rights for everybody today and tomorrow. So as another little proof of what I'm saying, we have here the 17 goals for the sustainable development, which United Nations published in 2015. And if we go through them, we will see that just 3 of them are related to the environment, the natural environment. Another 3 are directly, clearly related to the economic system, and all the rest of them, 11, are related to the social system. So please be sure we are here talking about people, we are here talking about human rights. Of course, we understand that we have to take into account the rules of the economy. Of course, we know we have to take care of natural system, we have to take care of environment, but both of them are secondary goals for our main target, which is, again, human rights, okay? Human rights for everybody today and tomorrow. And this is the core concept. Sustainable development is about people, okay? So once we have this in our minds, we can go for the second part of the presentation, and we are going to think, how can we design a sustainable electric system? Okay, this slide, here we only have some sentences of some parts of the human rights, where we can, what I want with this slide is just to make you understand something that you probably know, and is that energy is a necessary condition for human rights in modern societies. Okay, I usually say this by saying that human rights gets into our homes by the cable light, the light cable. Okay, if we move to the next slide, we can see which points do we have to take into account in order to design a sustainable electric system. Okay, let's go just for 3 or 4 of them, which I think are the most important. First of all, of course, the technology in our mix. Of course, depending on which technologies we are choosing, it depends whether we have emissions or not, more or less emissions, whether we have safety for our people, for our society, or for our environment. Also, the independence. What I mean here is the independence of our country in terms of having the raw material enough from other countries or in our own country to get this energy, which of course involves the geostrategy. We will talk about this later. Second point is about the quality and reach of the net. As for 2015, 1,300 million people in the world, at least, didn't have access to electric energy. This was just because they didn't have money to pay for it, or the net wasn't reaching their homes, or perhaps it did, but the electric system in their countries was so weak that it was permanently being shut off. So de facto, they didn't have. Of course, if in a modern society, as we have said, if you don't have electricity, you don't have possibility to live in a dignity mood, to have your human rights. Okay, so this is also really important. The third point is market regulation and taxes, because those can transform technology which is economically viable in one which is not, or vice versa. Okay, so these market regulations and taxes is really an important tool to play with. And finally, the access guarantee. This is the most important. Okay, we have already said everything. Human rights, sustainable development is about people, it's about human rights. We don't have human rights if we don't have electricity. So if we want our electric system to be sustainable, what we have to ensure is that people has access to the energy, to the minimum amount of energy which is needed to live with dignity. Okay, this is the main idea. Just as a little example of that, we are going through the European Union strategy in energy. This is a part of the first article of the Treaty of Lisbon, where this strategy is stated. And well, first of all, a little disclaimer. Here, I am not making any judgment about the strategy. This is not a forum. I am not a person, the appropriate person. So this is not a judgment. What I am saying here is just, we have here 3 main pillars for the strategy. First, we have competitiveness, which sounds like having something to do with the economic system. We have security of supply, which clearly have something to do with the social system. And finally, we have environment, which of course is the environment. So someone could tend to think that here we are talking about sustainable development because we have here our 3 systems, okay? But here I can't see any point regarding the guarantee of access. So this is not sustainable development. It might be okay. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying that this appears to be something related to sustainable development, but it is not. Okay. And finally, we reach the last part of the presentation. We are talking here about the relation between nuclear fusion and sustainable development, which means what can nuclear fusion do for sustainable development? Okay, which are the advantages, which are the disadvantages of this technology? we began with the advantages of fusion energy as a nuclear energy. Okay, at the right part of the screen, you have some of the goals of this sustainable development, which will light on and off depending on the point I am talking about. First of all, of course, talking about a nuclear energy, we are talking about a great density of power. Okay, this means we need a small amount of raw material in order to produce the energy, and also is strongly related to the use of land, which is also important, okay, for sustainability. Second, it's not necessary for me to explain that, we have no emissions with this technology, with nuclear technology. Third, and it's quite important, the raw material amount. Here, if we talk about deuterium, I just could say that we can't either imagine a scenario in which we consume all the deuterium in the world. Okay, the sun is going to end before that. With lithium, is a bit more complicated, but compared to, for example, petroleum, gas, natural gas, or something like this, lithium is far more present, and also far better spread through the world, better generously spread, taking into account the countries and the geostrategy. Okay, this is what I was talking about. Then we have the price stability, which is also common to the other nuclear energy, her sister, the fission energy. And this is about when we have a power plant of any nuclear energy, the most part of our investment is devoted to building the facility. And only a little part of it goes to the raw material and so on. So the final price of the energy has a low sensitivity on the increase, on a potential increase in the price of the raw material. Okay, so this probably doesn't sound so impressive, but this means that we have no energetic crisis like the petroleum crisis we already know. Okay, this is really important. And finally, but last but not least, technology development. And just to comment on that, the incredible amount of collateral findings, collateral technology which has been developed in the way of building, for example, ITER or CERN is really incredible. Carles has already talked to us about the economy, but also the development of science and technology are important here. So let's go for the disadvantages of nuclear fission, and I have quotation marked disadvantages because those are not real, the false disadvantages of this energy, but there are disadvantages that people think we have. First of all, proliferation. Here I could speak some more, but I have no time. So just to say that ITER or even inertial nuclear fusion has nothing to do with any military application, by no way, okay? Second point is safety. Okay, you have spent 3 days just listening on how hard it is to turn on a reactor. So I can assure you that turning it off is not a problem for us. And finally, radioactive waste. This is a real problem for fission, okay, for fission energy. And in fusion, we do have radioactive waste, okay, but they are definitely less long-lived and definitely less dangerous than in fission. So we could say with no problem that radioactive waste is not a problem for nuclear fission. Definitely not a problem, okay? They are lasting about a couple of 100 years, which is not a problem for It is not an economic problem, and it is not an engineer or technical problem. Just to end, we are going for the real disadvantages of nuclear fusion, because there are, and they are really, really important. The first one, I shouldn't say, it shouldn't be necessary to say it, because we have been talking about it for 3 days, is that we haven't got it. It is so difficult, it's so technically difficult that we don't have it, and we even are not sure whether we are going to be able to have it. Okay, so this is of course a great inconvenience. We are spending a large amount of money, well, not compared to Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, but they are still a large amount of money, and we are not sure about it, not yet. Okay, and the second and also really important disadvantage, and I am ending with this disadvantage of this energy, is whether we are arriving at time, and whether when we arrive we will be able to thought in the economic sense, whether we are going to be able to pay the cost of this energy compared to the cost of other energies in the market. And this is everything. Sorry if I was so fast, but I had a lot of things to say, and I had so little time. I think I am already out of my time, so if you have any question, it would be nice for me to answer it. Thank you very much to all of you.